Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers of all ages, I'm your host, Erick Coughlin, and this is the show, Just My Thoughts. How you doing? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying what today is. Today's Memorial Day, so for all you veterans out there, I appreciate you. For all you active duty guys out there, I appreciate you. And for all the ones who are no longer with us, I appreciate you guys as well. Even if I know you, if I don't know you, I don't care. I respect what you guys do. So, thank you. Now, Memorial Day is a very special day for, it should be every American in the world, right? Because without the guys that we've lost and without the guys that we haven't lost, they're still doing their jobs very well, we wouldn't live the life that we want to live. So keep that in mind. Respect the military, everything that the military stands for in all branches, because they all have different jobs and they all do different things, but they all have one goal in mind, and that is to keep America, protect America, and all the Americans within and without the borders of our country. So that being said, I appreciate all the military guys out there, especially I got a brother that's in the military, so I super duper appreciate you. And then I got a cousin that's also in the military, so I super duper appreciate you too, Kevin and Eddie. How you guys doing? But anyway, so let's get back to the show. Today's thought tracker is absolutely on pause. We're not working off any kind of agendas on the thought tracker today. Today's agenda is we're going to play the game State Your Fandom, and what we're going to do is we're doing the Grand Slam version of State Your Fandom. Grand Slam version? What are you talking about? I'm talking about claiming the only baseball team that really matters, and that's the Chicago White Sox. How are you doing? So as before, I'm going to pull out my phone, show you guys that there's absolutely nothing on my phone. You guys can vaguely see my daughters. I got both of them on there. So we're going to open up the counter here. So here we're at the counter, just like we've did this before. We did it with the Bears segment. So now we're going to do it with the Chicago White Sox segment, the Grand Slam segment of State Your Fandom. My goal here today is, first of all, before we set any goals, I'm going to do a little bit of explaining. So I haven't really in my life ever been a baseball fan. That's true. I tried to play when I was younger, found out that I was far too blind. I could pretty much do everything on the field. I could catch, I could throw. You could put me at second base, you could put me at shortstop, you could put me anywhere in the outfield, and I would primarily do pretty good because I was quick and I wasn't afraid of the ball. So I had the nuts for the game, but I didn't have the eyes for the game. My eye-hand coordination was just terrible, and that's because I had terrible eyesight. I couldn't put the bat on the ball, if you want me to just be boldly honest. So that pretty much strived me away from being a baseball fan to begin with. But to open up, what started me being a baseball fan was the Chicago White Sox. Around 2003, 2004, my uncles had come down, and they were talking about how the Sox are going to win the World Series. Sox are going to win the World Series, and I'm like, I don't even understand what you guys are talking about. And then, ironically, a year later, the very next time that they come down, the very next summer they come to visit us, they're bringing us White Sox pennants. For winning the World Series, they had T-shirts, they had hats, they had pennants. And they brought it all down here and they gave it to us as gifts. So that's awesome because, it's just stuff that they knew we couldn't get our hands on. And it's, sports history, it's Chicago history. And it's, their way of keeping us intertwined with the city. Being down here in Mississippi, they wanted us to, show pride for our home team and in our hometown where we're from. So that was always cool. And they did it and they still do it. I mean, as a matter of fact, every time that my uncles come down, they come down with open arms and gifts to give. So that's awesome. And it doesn't happen quite often anymore, but that's because they're getting old. We're getting old. I'm fucking 35, so I'm sure they're like in their 50s. Sorry, Uncle Rich, I know you're almost 60. Uncle Rich is getting kind of old, and Uncle Brian's probably pushing his 50s. Uncle Brian might be 52, 53. I don't know. I should know these things, but they're my uncles. They're not my dad, and they're not my brother. Stuff like that. So I'm just spitting what I think their ages are, but I'm pretty sure Uncle Rich is pushing 60 and Uncle Brian's in the mid 50s. Pretty sure about that. But anyway, so they're the ones that opened up the door to me to becoming a White Sox fan and a baseball fan to begin with. When I found out that they won the World Series and that was the championship of baseball, I got entwined to figure out, a lot about baseball. So that being said, the goal here today is I'd like to give somewhere close to 18 players. That would be, the diamond to make up a batting roster. What is it? 9 players. So you got your outfield, left, right, center. Boom, there's 3. Then you got your bases, First, second, third, that's another 3, so that's 6. Then you got your pitcher, that's 8. You got your catcher, no, pitcher makes 7. Catcher makes 8. Shortstop makes 9. So yeah, so if we doubled 9, it'd be 18, and that would be pretty fair because, like I said, I only watched baseball, like religiously watched baseball, roughly 3 years, from about '05 to about '08, '09. I kind of fell out when the team started breaking apart, when uh, Scott Pasechnik was long gone, and Jermaine Dye left us, and Paul Konerko retired. And when the team that I had fell in love with broke up, I broke up with the Major League Baseball. How you doing? With the MLB, Major League Baseball. That's what I was saying. So the goal is, as a pretty much not even a baseball fan, the goal is to double the diamond. 18. That's what we're going to try to do. So let's get started. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. I'm going to start off with Sammy Sosa. I'm going to start off with uh, uh, Alfonso Soriano. How about Fukudome? How about Jake Arrieta? How about, if you're paying attention to anything I'm saying, that none of these guys are Chicago White Sox? That's right. All these guys were Cubs. I only did that to joke around and have a little bit of fun. Those guys are the shitty Cubbies. Those guys are not the White Sox. So now we got the counter. Here we go. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to work my way down, hoping for 20. If I get 18, I consider that acceptable, considering I only watched baseball for about 4 years anyway. Let's go. I'm going to go with my number 1 guy in the Chicago White Sox history. Everyone has a number 1 guy. Everybody has a favorite player. My favorite player, Jermaine Dye. Boom, there's 1. Second favorite player, Paul Konerko. There's 2. Third favorite player, A.J. Brzezinski. There's 3. I'm going to quit counting. I'm going to show you I'm at 3. I'm not cheating. Now I'm going to start name dropping. So we gave you Paul, we gave you AJ, we gave you Jermaine. How about Scott Pasechnik? How about Aaron Rowan? How about Willie Harris? How about Carl Everett? How about Juan Uribe? How about, we're at 8. Oh, I need 10 more. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, let's think about some pitchers. How about Mark Burley? How about Jose Contreras? How about John Garland? Now we're at 11. I'm doing very well. We might blow 18 out of the water. How about, think about Felix Diaz, Nick Swisher, Michael Jordan, Jim Thome, Frank Thomas. Oh, we're at 16. I'm doing very well. How about some newer guys? How about Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu? What's that? We got a picture. Michael Kopech. There you go. I like Michael Kopech. I don't know how a lot of people feel about him, but I feel like every time I do attempt to watch a Sox game, if Kopech is at the pitching mound, we do fairly good. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go on and say this. I've been kind of keeping up with it. Ever since I started the podcast, I've kind of tried to relate myself with baseball because, basketball season's just about over. Football season don't start again until the end of August, the beginning of September. So I have to have stuff to talk about. So I have been trying to watch baseball, and it's been pretty brutal. I've already touched on that the last time we had Just My Thoughts segment. State Your Fandom segment. I told you that the Sox were garbage, and it was really hard to find a Sox game to enjoy. That being said, in the last 2 weeks, last 14 games, they've won 9 out of 14, so they're working their way up. They're 4th in the division, and they're only 5 games out of first. What does that mean? That means usually baseball works as games of series, right? You usually play the same team 3 or 4 times in a game, hit the weekend, and then you hit the next city. Hit the weekend, then you hit the next city. So if we win the next couple of series that we're attempted to play in, which I think Seattle's on the market, and then I think Detroit's on the market, so we can just go in there and handle Seattle and handle Detroit. We can actually, as a terrible start of the season, we can turn it around and put ourselves first or second place, depending on how well it works. I don't know how good Seattle is. I know growing up in my life, Seattle has always been good because Ken Griffey Jr. And I do know the Detroit Tigers have always been pretty good because of Randy Johnson. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure Randy Johnson's long retired. I'm pretty sure Ken Griffey Jr. is long retired. I'm pretty sure the Sox have a very legitimate shot at actually still in first place of the division after a terrible start, so I'm pretty proud of that. Back to the game. We're at 19. I didn't even know it. How about Carlos Lee? How about Carlos Quentin? Let's see. How about We're at 21. I'm trying to think about a few more names that I watched. I watched about three quarters or three innings, excuse me. There's 9 innings in a baseball game. I watched 3 innings the other night. There's players in baseball. Their names are really weird, man, and it's really hard to name drop them when you don't watch them consistently. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of the name of that pitcher. And then we got a big couple of guys in the outfield. The outfield game is changing. It used to be athletic people back there, but now kind of gotten some bigger, slower guys. I'm trying to think of how to say their names without sounding completely ridiculous. Um, it's like I don't know. I don't even want to try to name drop them because like I said, I don't want to say it and sound ridiculously wrong, and I don't want to sound like I'm making up players either. Like I said, there's the Elo, like Eloy, Elo, I guess is his name. Um, and his last name is far fetched, so I can't even remember how it was like Jimenez, Jimenze. Elo Jimenez. I know it sounds like I'm making something up, but I'm pretty sure that's like a legitimate name. I don't know how to pronounce it. But like, so that's another thing that's baseball is more worldwide than the NBA and then the NFL. So you get guys from, the Dominican Republic come over and they play guys from like China, like Fukudome, I just mentioned, come over and play. Um, there was another famous Japanese player for the Yankees for many a years. So it's a worldwide sport. That's why these names are really hard to say. Like I said, it would seem like Elo Jimenez is a made up name, but I promise you, I was watching the game the other day and that name popped up. I just don't think I'm saying it right. Um, and there's like 3 or 4 of them that are on the team now that I think they're all like either they're from Spain or they're from the Dominican Republic. Actually, I think Sammy Sosa was Dominican Republic as well. Again, a Cub. I started off as a joke. I listed off about 4 quick Cubs that I just wanted to just have you guys be like, what the fuck? What are you even doing? I It was purpose. I did that purposely to keep you guys entertained. Like I said, that's the shitty Cubbies. Keep that entertained. I am a Coughlin. I was raised to be a White Sox guy, and I am a White Sox guy, and I'm going to become more of a stronger White Sox guy throughout, the rest of this season and probably for the rest of my life because, like I said, if the way they started off this season, we were at the bottom of the barrel, not just in the division, but in the league. And now we're just a couple of series away from stealing first place. So if this team could do that, a lot of things can be said about baseball. First of all, there's 182 games in a season. So if you drop 20 games, it's really no big deal as long as you can string up together 40 or 50 quick wins. I mean, like, quick wins, what are you talking about? There's already been like 50 or 60 games played. That's what I'm talking about. We're about a third of a way. Baseball is forever long. We're only a third of the way into the season, so we can continue these numbers and continue to put up wins and continue to march into the first place era. Then I will continue to give the team my time. So, and I have to do this anyway. If I'm going to be a podcaster, I have to be well rounded. Like I said in the last segment, last episode of Just My Thoughts. I can't just always talk about the Chicago Bulls. And even if I wanted to break it down to the Bulls and the Bears, eventually I would run out of material because, 82 games in a basketball season and then 17 games in a football season, if you don't make the playoffs, it's really hard. You got 182 baseball games. I mean, it's a worldwide sport. So I have to challenge myself to be a bigger baseball fan and to have more material to cover. They say, well, you cover more than just sports anyway. You cover movies and you cover music, and that's true, and I do, but I don't do it in in the likes of talking and breaking down like a team. Like I can break down the Bulls all day long. I think you guys have already peeked onto that. If you follow me, if you watch every episode, I think you have the understanding that I have that when it comes to the Chicago Bulls, I know what's up. I know how to break down that team from the 90s. I know how to break that team down from the early 2000s. I know how to break that team down to the mid 2000s. I know how to break that team down right now. That's my favorite game. It's my favorite sport. It's my favorite league. I love basketball. I love the NBA. So yeah, I could talk about Chicago Bulls until I'm blue in the face, and then you guys will probably get sick and tired of me talking about them. That's just how true that is. And likewise for the Bears. I started liking. So first of all, I've always loved football, but I didn't understand what football really meant until I was about, I don't know, 13 years old. So secretly, I'm saying this on the podcast, and I can't believe that I'm even going to release this information to everybody. So now people can bash me when they see me. But growing up as a kid, like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, my favorite team was the Green Bay Packers, and I didn't even know why. I just knew that I loved Brett Favre. I knew that, in the early 90s, they were, competitive to go to the Super Bowl. I think they went to back-to-back Super Bowls with Brett Favre. Maybe not back-to-back. I think it might have been like 96 and then 98. They went to, so almost back-to-back Super Bowls with Brett Favre. And so that's what I knew growing up in Mississippi. Like, I only knew who was good and who played in the Super Bowl. Like, if you played in the Super Bowl, I knew you were good. And then I knew that they had been going to the Super Bowl kind of competitively recently. I was like, so that's my team. That's what I want. And then, you know, as I got older and I started playing football for school, and then like my uncles were coming down from Chicago, and like they have all this bear stuff. And then I started buying Madden. I think it was like Madden 2002 for the Nintendo 64. Is when I really discovered that I was supposed to be a Bulls fan. I mean, a Bears fan. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Chicago Bears. That just makes sense. I don't know how I'm not a Bears fan. And then from that day forward, I had completely turned my back on the Green Bay Packers because I had no idea that they were even in the same division. And I became a loyal Bears fan. And that came just at the right amount of time, right? Because around that time, we got Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Charles Tillman. We had R.W. McQuarters, we had Mike Brown. So we had what looked like the greatest and the hardest defense in the world to score on, and we kept that defense for almost close to a decade. I'm not kidding you. If you look up your stats, Urlacher was on the team for 13 years. Briggs was on the team for 15 years. Peanut Tillman was on the team for 16 years. Mike Brown gave us 8 years. So I became a diehard Bears fan, and I still am a diehard Bears fan, but secretly, and it's being revealed, so it's unsecretly, I was a Packers guy. I liked Brett Favre. I liked Donald Driver. And I just did. I just liked that matchup. I liked that duo. I mean, to respect the game, you had to respect, Donald Driver and Brett Favre. That's just the truth. You had to, and I did. I don't know more, and I wished I never would have, but it is what it is. So that being said, on the Grand Slam version of State Your Fandom, I had gave you 21 Chicago White Sox players, which means that obviously I need to do a lot of homework when it comes to baseball, because let me break it down to you. When I claimed my Chicago Bulls, I claimed 82 Chicago Bulls. When I claimed my Chicago Bears, I claimed 62 Chicago Bears. Now I'm sitting in front of you guys on Memorial Day, and I'm claiming my Chicago White Sox, and I only claim 21 Chicago White Sox. So it's clear to see I'm not very big into baseball, but it's also clear to see that I absolutely have to start doing it. I have to start sitting down, doing my homework, watching games, and get more back into the world of baseball. But that to do that, I need my White Sox to make me want to be more relevant and start watching baseball. So that being said, on the next segment of State Your Fandom, the only team left I have to state would be my Chicago Blackhawks. That will happen. Now when, I don't know. I never do that. I never drop dates or tell you when, so don't expect me to be able to do that. I do all this on the fly. I usually, when I start my podcast, I usually have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I usually take 2 or 3 days. If you follow me on the YouTube, you can tell that each episode is about 3 or 4 days between each other, and during those days is when I come up with what's going to be next on the show. Like, so I have to build up things, and sometimes I just wing it. Last night, I just dropped the podcast last night, and it was a wing it situation. It was just something to give you guys to watch. And that's like today it was more, thought out process. I knew what I was doing when I woke up this morning. I knew that I was going to talk about the Chicago White Sox. I knew that I was going to play the Grand Slam version of State Your Fandom, and it just makes the show run a lot better when I have more time to do that. But today it marks the path of month number 3. So that's what today is. That's the reason why we played State Your Fandom. I started the month 3 with the game. Now, how am I going to finish it? I don't know. Now, when am I going to play the next round? I don't know. I'm not telling you guys that you have to wait a month before I claim my Blackhawks, but I am telling you guys there might be 3 or 4 or 5 episodes before I claim my Blackhawks. And then again, I might surprise you in the very next episode. We just play State Your Fandom. In the first 2 episodes of the month, we play State Your Fandom, and I claim my Blackhawks as well as I claimed my White Sox. Now, that being said, I will give you a free warning that I don't know if I could even give you 21 Blackhawks like I just gave you 21 White Sox. It would be equally as hard for me to state my Blackhawks as it is my White Sox, because I am primarily and full-heartedly and openly disgust Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears freak. I'm not a fan. I'm a freak. Now, I'm a fan of baseball and I'm a fan of hockey. I'm not freaks of those sports, so you have to cut me a little bit of slack in the fact that I can sit in front of a camera and not have nothing in front of me but, a clicker. Oh, look, we went to 22. I'm just kidding you. No, I did. All I said was clicker and push the fucking button. We're at 21, and that's where we're going to finish. Now, if you enjoyed the show, if you like what you heard and enjoyed what you see, always feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Usually, I drop off with the cash tag, right? Right, but I didn't. Why? Because the cash tag thing ain't happening. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Do I want it to happen? Fuck yeah. I think everyone wants to be able to sit in front of a camera, talk for an hour, which has only been 20 minutes, but I say talk for an hour and get paid for it, right? Like, that's my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to be doing this inside of a professional studio instead of a bedroom in the house. But we're getting there. As stated before, this is my dark days, and my dark days are doing pretty well. I've been doing the show for today, marks 61 days. I've been doing the show, and I have 550 views. So I don't consider this a waste of time. I consider this a building process. So, like I said, if you enjoyed what you hear, you like what you see, always feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. And always feel free to cash at me, Erick Daniel Coughlin. Hashtag Coughlin Pride. Have a nice day.